Simpson. Who would like to speak first?
I will.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Denise Fine, and I sat before you this past June regarding this complaint against Dr. Stephen Brockway. At that time, your investigating medical consultant made a recommendation for an EDD based on his determination that while at the Meadows of Wickenburg, quote, Dr. Brockway was the consulting physician in my brother's case and not his primary care provider. I submitted a volume of supplemental documents that clearly and indisputably proved otherwise, that Dr. Brockway was, in fact, my brother's primary, in-house, on-staff, attending physician psychiatrist responsible for his assessments, orders, and care. I also provided documentation that Dr. Brockway clearly failed to follow a Meadows internal policy, number NSG 750, that was written specifically to protect patients like my brother from errors in a psychiatrist's clinical judgment and prevent and avert inpatient self-harm and suicide. Had that policy been followed, he would be alive today. In spite of these facts, I sit here again today defending my brother's right to hold Dr. Brockway accountable for his clinical judgment that A, allowed my notably suicidal brother to have access to his belt, B, be placed on an acute wing with no locked doors, alarms, and/or cameras, and C, reduced his observation from once every hour to once every 4 hours, while concurrently ordering a second opinion for suicidality, an assessment that was never done. These decisions that ultimately allowed my brother the opportunity to complete inpatient suicide were solely those of Dr. Brockway, and thus he needs to be held accountable by this board. What is equally disturbing is that after reviewing the supplemental information I submitted, your investigating medical consultant, as well as your executive director, Lisa Wynn, maintained their stance that this case is still deserving of an EDD. Yet even at this moment, I still have no idea or explanation as to the basis for this opinion. And per your agency's policies, I am not deserving of or entitled to one. In spite of the aforementioned facts, is your medical consultant still holding to the belief that Dr. Brockway was not my brother's attending physician? Or is there some new finding on which this EDD is now based? In fact, I won't know what the basis now is until either later today or tomorrow when this case is presented. Although this board provided Dr. Brockway with information about my complaint against him, I, as the complainant, am not granted equal or any access to his response in part or in full. Thus, how can I sit here and challenge this decision without knowing what it is now that I need to challenge? Clearly, the flow of information used by this agency moves only in one direction, from complainant to accused. The accused has a right to and gets specific information about the complaint, but those of us on this side of this process are kept in the dark until it's too late to truly challenge a decision. The Arizona Medical Board has no public information policy. Thus, I am not privy to your medical consultant's investigational report. I have no right to view his or Dr. Brockway's response, written words, conclusions, and recommendations. I get no advanced information, only what I will hear later on today or tomorrow at this meeting, and then it's too late. Furthermore, I am not provided with, nor do I have a right to know, the investigating medical consultant's name or credentials, or what is his area of medical expertise. Is he a doctor, and if so, is he a psychiatrist, or is he an orthopedic surgeon, or an OBGYN, or an ophthalmologist? Does he truly know the standard of care for this issue? I have no idea and apparently have no right to know. There is no equal exchange of information here. It truly feels like being held hostage in the dark and sandbagged. Thus, how does one successfully pursue this avenue of peer review? Who is truly holding these doctors to task if the complainants themselves have no right or feedback, no right to or feedback to the review process? We have no access or right to the information that flows from the accused back to the medical board until the recommendation has already been made. Where are the checks and balances in all of this? Your own board gave Dr. Brockway a consent agreement and later a related decree of censure in 1994 for what one may conclude from the records as an inappropriate doctor-patient relationship combined with substance abuse. Your own board believed these actions by Dr. Brockway to be so egregious to merit formal action. My beautiful brother, Matthew, tragically lost his life while under the direct care of the same doctor, and your own agency has failed to even recommend a letter of reprimand be added to Dr. Brockway's file.
Ma'am, your time is almost up.
I'm almost done. This is so even after clearly proving via documentation repeated policy violations and reckless errors in the standards of care on the part of Dr. Brockway. Is my brother's life not worthy of any action on the part of this board? Do you allow your doctors to hide behind their, quote, clinical judgment with no accountability? Thus I ask, where is the justice here? And if you're not, then who is protecting the public from doctors like Stephen Brockway?
Ma'am, your time is elapsed.
I am done.
Thank you.